What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast. Special guest in the house today, my boy Mike Donatelli. Mike, what's up?
What's up, Zach? Thanks for the invite and bringing me back on. I appreciate it.
We got to do an adventure race this year.
Dude, yes.
That's the next level.
People, that's got to be one of the hardest endurance events that no one's talking about.
No, it's not popular.
Not popular at all, which makes it way cooler.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I like that about the backyard ultras and just the ultras in general. They're a little less popular than like a marathon.
Yeah.
I like that underground. When I was powerlifting, it was underground. Like nobody was powerlifting. It wasn't cool on Instagram yet. Instagram wasn't even a thing. And people were just like lifting heavy and just feeling like their back's going to break all the time. So
Yeah.
it wasn't really popular even in gyms. Like people are like, why would you just want your back to hurt all the time?
And then once powerlifting got popular, strongman, which I feel like strongman is still kind of underground, but
And that's underground because it's really hard to have access to equipment.
yeah. And you got to be really strong to do strongman.
You're going to be very strong.
I remember the first strongman comp I went to and kind of like experienced and saw, and there was like one guy that just couldn't do any of the weights because they don't adjust the weights for you, right? Like your weight class, you get the weights. If anything, they usually bump them up to make them heavier on competition day.
Very often.
And
Sometimes 10, 20%.
A lot. It happens. And so I remember just watching this guy and he couldn't hit any of the weights. And so he just like zeroed out every single event. I'm like, you just have to be strong to do strongman.
Get stronger.
Just get stronger. And then it becomes a little bit more fun. But yeah, these underground races scenes are really cool. And I think the Backyard Ultra, it'll be interesting to see over the next, 5-10 years if it stays underground.
I don't think so.
It's blowing up.
It seems exciting. It's kind of like High Rocks right now. Not a lot of
Yeah.
people know about High Rocks, but it's coming around. It's exciting because a lot of these sports give easy access. And if there's easy access, like the Backyard Ultra is 4.12 mile loop. Everyone can run that for the most part, I would say. And you can do it in less than an hour. So it's very possible. So next thing you know, you sign up to an event like this, and many people who are mid-level runners like me can set PRs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, probably once you get to a little bit more of an advanced runner, that might not be the case. A PR for you, you might be like, dude, I can run 100 miles in 17 hours. So like, it has to be 24 in the backyard. That's too much time on feet. I could actually run 140 miles in that time. So that format doesn't make sense for me.
Yep.
But for that mid-level runner like myself, it's just such a great arena to set a PR in. So soon you can realize you can set a PR in it. You get to see your family every hour. You don't meet them at like aid stations every 5 to 10 miles. Mm-hmm. You meet them every hour right there. They're at the same spot. That's exciting. You got kids playing. It's just really rad for the parents to be in an event like that. So I could see that growing in popularity. High Rocks will most definitely grow in popularity. Such easy access. Every CrossFit gym can double over as a High Rocks gym. Mm-hmm. You got the skiers, the rowers. You can find those, at least the rowers for sure, in most LA Fitnesses, sleds in LA Fitnesses. There's running involved with it. You're going to see a lot of that. I think the better High Rocks guys will always be the runners. Like,
yeah,
you're running a lot. I think
it's a run. It's a running event. It's a running race with some strength stuff in it.
Yeah,
like
it seems like the runners will have a more beneficial advantage to that style of competition. Strongman is always going to be underground. It's just really hard for a regular gym to have access to it. Gyms like Iron Valley Barbell are just, they're hard to come by. Most gyms don't have this type of equipment that we have here, the specialty stuff. And even when you do have the specialty stuff, maybe you have your house or your barn, you need like 3 friends hyping you up the whole time too, because picking up a rock just sucks. Like there's just no way around it, and picking up a rock really sucks.
Yeah, strongman's the one that like you're just accepting that you're always going to be in pain for like the next 12 weeks.
And your back is always in a vulnerable position.
Always.
I remember I was posting my strongman stuff and people were like, you're going to break your back. I'm like, no, you don't get it. You're supposed to. Like, if my back looks like it's about to break, I'm in the right position.
Yep.
Like, you're arching so hard. When
How are you going to
press.
keep a neutral spine when you're log pressing 250 pounds over your head?
Picking up an Atlas.
Picking up an Atlas stone. Like, it's meant to be curved.
It's meant to hurt.
Yeah.
That's why they do it the way they do it. Yeah. I showed up at a competition they had like a series. It was like I think it's sort of log, and then axle. And then axle bars is like twice the size of a regular bar, 3 times the size of a regular bar. So you can't double overhand it. They make you flop grip it, but you somehow got to get it over your head. So you got to flop grip it, and you just throw it on your stomach, and your stomach pinches your belt, and it makes you bleed. And then you got to pop it back up over and flop your hands over. And then you got to somehow press it over your head, but you don't have a real grip on it. So you have to take a neutral grip because you can't do it. So then guys are up and on their head all the time. It's hilarious, and they basically kill yourself. And that's why they do it. It's really, really hard. And then you move over and you do a log again. And we went there in the 220 class, or the 200 class, whatever it was, went before us. I was 175 in this one. And they just left the weights on it because the guys who was volunteering didn't want to change it. So we're supposed to have a 250 log. We had a 275 log. I'm like, that's a big difference.
Oh my God.
They literally just didn't want to change the log. I went to an event one time that they just didn't have the right weights for it. They had like 100-pound plates, and they had 45s and 25s. They didn't have 10s or 5s. So the prescribed weights for the deadlift, they didn't have the right amount of weight because they had 100s and 45s, and the other event was using the 25s.
Yep.
So there's like, well, it's going to be 80 pounds more so you're supposed to pull, 585, and now you're pulling 660.
Yeah.
Other events you show up at and you just deadlift a car. So like, I don't know what's in there.
It's about 800 pounds.
It's a lot.
I don't know. It's just a lot of weight. Yeah, dude. And half the time you don't have a warm up. Like,
very so.
Like they'll be like, all right, 5-minute warm up, go, and there's like 30 people going to the same, thing that you're using, and
It's the same apparatus.
It's
not even multiple, but the same apparatus.
Just the same apparatus. I'm doing the same weight as the dude that's 300 pounds. Like it's the Wild West of like lifting.
100% it is.
But
100%. Here's the deal though too. We talked about this before. Like, how good was your warm up prior to the marathon?
Not
as good
very
as it could
extensive. Yeah, I mean, really, it's like, and this is something that I think I will really appreciate about my next marathon is actually gonna be a smaller marathon. So the marathon I did was the Indy Monumental, which is not like on the same level necessarily as one of the majors. So like Chicago, New York, Berlin, like those are the world major marathons. Those are massive in their own right. But Indy is a large metropolitan area. It's, a very desirable race because it's very flat, it's fast, it's in the fall, it's after Chicago, so people, like, if they didn't hit their Chicago times, they like to come there. So it's a big race, and I had never really experienced that before because all of my endurance experience had come in the form of like the biggest one we did was the Ironman. There's a lot of people there, but by the time you're getting into your marathon, there's not a lot of people around you. Like, it's just, you just kind of starting in this corral of thousands of people all around you where you're just kind of bunched up. It was an experience in itself, and I'm looking forward to my next marathon being like a much smaller just amount of population. It's like in Virginia, so it won't be that big. Like, it's just kind of like a local race. And so I will look to have a more elaborate warm-up to try to get myself a little bit more dialed that way. Because I my warm-up was I pissed in an alley because I couldn't find a bathroom, and then I got in my corral, stood there, and they shot the gun, and we just went. Like, where am I supposed to warm up here? So, yeah.
That's sometimes it's the conditions with competition.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not proper. I remember with powerlifting as well that the warm-ups were just never good, all the guys. But it's also not when you want it. Like, in the mornings, maybe you can condition yourself to running at a certain time, and you have a certain routine and a certain ritual, and then you're like, okay, now I go, and I'm gonna do all these things, and I light these candles, and look at that star, and I walk down the steps this way, right? And it's like, it's a perfect run.
Yep.
You get out to these marathons, like, I got nowhere to piss, so now your heart rate's up because you're about to piss your pants. The race is about to start. You got to pee in an alley.
You got to pee. I got 100,000 people around me versus like me when I'm the only person except for the homeless dude on the side of the road running by at 5 a.m. Like, much different environments. And this is also something that I think we mentioned in one of our previous episodes. If it's your first competition, you really shouldn't set massive metrics other than just going, having a fun time, pushing yourself. because there's so much about competition that you cannot predict that has big variables, and the only way to experience that is to do the competition. The only way to get better at that is to continue doing the competitions.
Dude, I had a buddy the other day. He's like, oh, you're going from complete. It was Ryan. He's like, you're going from complete to compete. I'm starting to feel this vibe from you. I was like, oh, that happens organically. Mm-hmm. I actually don't set in my metric, I'm going to compete now.
Yeah.
Competing happens by the amount of time in which I have in the arena. I will eventually compete in this stuff. I will be a competitor. I will show up at these races and they're like, oh yeah, like Zach's going to put out a good number today. Like Zach's going to put out a lot of miles. Like, oh yeah, Zach's going to complete the 100. Like we know now that I'm going to finish the race. Like right now I'm still like in that phase of like, can I finish these things? Yep. But the more I do them, I just naturally will be competing because I've progressed into it. There's no timeline on that.
Yeah.
I did my first sprint triathlon in 2021. It's 2025. So I'm basically 4 years into the sport of endurance. Never really like took it. I'm not taking it nearly as serious as powerlifting and strongman because I don't care about being world class in this. But I like doing it. And I plan on doing it definitely this year. So at least for the foreseeable future, the next couple of years, in my mind at least, I'm enjoying it. So I like rucking, so I can just ruck and go show up these events.
100%.
So I'll probably just keep doing it. I'll just eventually show up and just be like, yeah, I can just rip out 100 to 150 miles in the backyard because I just can. Yeah. I'm not putting that in my mind like this year I need to compete. Like I want to run 100 miles, about time for me. I'm like, okay, last year I did 71. Like if I just train right, if I keep myself healthy this year, that should just naturally happen. If that means I'm competitive in the race, that's fine. Yep. But still, like I haven't in my mind changed this idea of like I'm trying to compete. Because what it does is it puts this expectation on every little detail of my training. It decreases the amount of fluidity that I can have in it. Like even in powerlifting, I never cared about who was showing up at the events. You know why I didn't care? Because I could only lift what I could lift.
Didn't affect you.
And if a guy showed up who could lift more than me, what am I going to do? Get stronger that day? No.
Yes.
I'm not, if I, yes.
Yes, you gotta get
if I squat 700 and a guy shows up and squats 750, Mike, I'm not gonna squat 760. Right?
But so your mental willpower, Zach.
You just gotta will it.
Gotta will it.
So my mind is like, well, I'm just gonna be as strong as I'm gonna be. So I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do the best I can do in my training, and if that's enough to be competitive today, that's enough. Yeah. There's no, like, if a guy shows up at a race, and he's already ran like 250 miles, and I want to be competitive with him, and I've only ran 70, there's a good chance that I'm not going to be.
For sure. And that really brings more credence to just running your own race and just like ultimately
lifting your own
weights. Like you can like we are no one listening to this podcast is going to be, I assume no one listening to this podcast is going for Olympic gold, is going for world records.
There's probably very few elite level, like truly in my perspective, an elite level.
That's a whole nother, we could talk about the word elite.
We'll get there. That's a great idea because some people be really jacking this word up, man. I'm still an elite basketball player because I play once a year at the YMCA.
Yes. But anyway, but all of this being said, we're doing this for fun. We're doing this because it's giving us a reason in the here and now to continue showing up and putting fitness as a priority versus just saying I'm going to maintain my fitness for the rest of my life, because that's boring. Like, let's be honest. Like, I love when guys tell me I just want to be healthy and be able to play with my grandkids. I'm like, okay, is your thought of your future grandkids that probably won't come for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Guy's like 25.
25.
I want to play with my grandkids. Doesn't have a wife yet. It's like,
okay, I love where your mind's at, but is that going to get your ass out of bed at 5 a.m. when you don't want to go to the gym?
Doing this for Johnny.
It's like,
he's going to be born in
not
2050. Come on.
Come on. It's like, no. So let's focus on us just getting better, setting the metrics for our own success, and then using the competition to add urgency and add accountability to what we're doing.
Yeah, day to day.
Yeah.
And you get in the arena, there's a confidence that's unlocked inside of the event. Now, you do have a post, I shared this before in the podcast, you have this post competition dump. That's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that later. But I will say what happens is when you're in the competition, you build a new level of confidence within yourself. There's been guys on social media over the years that I watch who try to sign up for events and they don't complete them. And they don't make them because they're not competitors. And then they sign up to try to be a competitor and think that their level of fitness will get them there. And they don't make it, or they don't succeed, or they don't hit the list that they expected to hit, X, Y, Z. Well, because it's different. Competing is very different. It's so easy to bark from the sidelines. So when people tell me they're elite without actually ever competing, well, to begin, you're not elite. Because, just because you run a 6-minute mile doesn't make you elite. Or bench 315 because no one else in your gym benches it. When you get in a competition, you actually have to have success whenever they say it's your turn.
Yeah.
And then you have to rise to the occasion, and you're not using the same bars or the same bench, or when you're at the marathon, you're not warming up the same way that you typically warm up, and the conditions aren't always, and it's raining, it's always something. It's like to actually be in competition is completely different. And one thing that we need to realize too is we're all just professional exercisers.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be pro in exercising.
We weren't good enough to be pro in a sport, so we have to be good at doing the stuff that the pro athletes use to be better at the sport.
Come on.
That's what we're doing, guys.
Stop calling yourself elite. You fucking suck, dude.
So bad.
You actually suck.
Actually, we are all terrible, but that's okay. We're doing it together.
It's okay. It's fun.
It's fun.
And you need something to do every day.
Yeah, but don't label yourself elite.
Don't label yourself elite. It's also it's this false narrative. It's very egotistical. I'm very elite when you put it this way. I can run, I can ruck, I can lift, I can slackline. I start to put all these different metrics and other people can't do this. It's yeah, because you catered the metrics to the things that you're good at. I'm real good. I like to cater metrics to the things that I'm already really good at.
Yeah.
So being elite in a sport, and I really want to speak at the Twitter guys here, to be truly elite at something, if you're elite, other people are telling you. When I was strength training, people were telling me. Everywhere I'd go, there were people telling me that I didn't need to say it. It was known. I showed up to events and I won events because I was elite. People were telling me, it was showcasing it. If I need to say that a 500's elite, a deadlift, 500 deadlifts is elite because everyone else in the gym doesn't do it, I'm not everyone in the gym deadlifts to begin with. Now take the people who do deadlift. Okay, now the number looks a little bit different. Now take the people who deadlift and actually do it in competition. Now we start getting to is this truly an elite number?
Yeah.
Or in running, is that truly an elite run?
Yeah.
I can say I'm an ultramarathoner because I ran 31 miles. But ultramarathoners are well, it starts at 100. Yeah. That's a real ultramarathon, it's 100 miles.
Yeah.
So on Twitter, I can be I'm an ultramarathoner. But ultramarathon is no, you're not. You got to run 100 first.
Yeah.
So we all live in different worlds, man. We all live in different worlds.
We all live in different worlds, and it's just reminding ourselves why we're doing it, the real reason we're pursuing these cool goals, but not letting our ego get out of control and assume something that we're not.
It limits growth.
Really does.
When I think I've arrived, where am I going? I got nowhere to go now. I need to always be in pursuit. Yeah. I should never arrive. I should always just be in pursuit of where I'm going. Oh, that's my next goal. That's my next goal. Find enjoyment in the process.